Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ajua. In this video, I want to talk about Paris Corner Juicy Melange from the EMEA line, and this, according to the package here, was manufactured in July 2024. So just in this month, the current month we are in, and manufactured, launched, and then distributed in the same month. And it's being marketed as a summer wine with some very fruity notes, which includes strawberry, blackcurrant, a host of them. But does it really come across as that, summer wine fruity that they are advertising this as? No, it doesn't give me that at all. Let me go to the notes here. When it comes to the notes, okay, so let me just introduce the bottle to you. Very pretty. I think of the line that they have, which includes the mango punch that I have here, and then pear potion. I don't have a full bottle, but I have a decant of it. This is the prettiest bottle I have come across. The purple and purple with the gold details. It is very pretty. I like how the ombre effect comes across. It's very playful, looking. It is my favorite bottle, but it is not going to be my favorite in the line yet, amongst the three. This, according to Paris Corner, has strawberry, which I get none of. I don't get no strawberry at all. It also has black currant, and that is going to be the most dominant note I get in this. It has some peach. I get nothing like peachy, nuance in it. It has basil, and basil is going to give you a slight boozy nuance or touch to this. The basil comes across as a bit boozy, especially at the opening. At the top, it also has some plum, but I don't get any plum. And then it has coconut, which is non-existent. It has apple, and I also get the apple. So the most dominant fruit I'm getting from the top are going to be the black currant and then the apple. And the last note for the top note is the nutmeg, and nutmeg is the only spice I get in this. When it comes to the middle note, it's all about the florals, which includes iris, orchid, jasmine, lily of the valley, and then rose. I don't get anything in particular. Nothing really stands out, but there is a general feel of this light but very present floral nuance at in the midst of the whole thing. There's something floral about it, but nothing really stands out. Not the rose, not the jasmine, not the lily of the valley. Nothing really, but you still get like a heavy presence of a floral nuance somewhere in the mix. And at the base we have moss. Take note of the moss, because the moss is going to play a very integral part, role in this, the life of this fragrance. There is vanilla, which is quite present, but not the most vanillic dry down, no, but it's still there. There is cedarwood, sandalwood, ambergris, musk, and tonka, which are almost non-existent. So this fragrance starts off similar to something I already have. It starts off as a fragrance from Mugler that has been considered very polarizing to a lot of people, but to me it is not. As soon as you spray this fragrance, it's going to give you a blast of a slightly boozy nuance, which I believe the booziness is coming from the basil. Basil is like a minty sort of feel, and it translates into something slightly boozy at the opening, which quickly tames down, and you begin to appreciate the black currant and then the apple. That is those two fruits are going to be the two most dominant fruits you are going to get. You're not going to get the strawberry, which I was hoping to get, but I'm not getting strawberry at all. I'm not getting much of the peach, much of the plum, nothing coconutty. No, it doesn't give me anything like that. After that, opening with that slight booziness and the black currant and apple, then comes in this very green vanilla. I can simply describe this fragrance as a green vanilla with some black currant and apple. That is what essentially is going to dry down to eventually. But it's really develops. It is not linear at all. The opening is going to give you a slight boozy feel because of the basil. Then comes in the black currant and the apple, and then that heavy presence of a greenness. There's a green feel to this, which I believe is coming from the moss. The moss is going to give you something green here. And vanilla, so the vanilla also comes in as soon as the moss, starts to make its presence known. So it is going to give you like a green vanilla, something like that green vanilla thing that is not a favorite of a lot of people. And that green vanilla nuance in this reminds me so much of this fragrance aura from Mugler. They sort of, there's something that I think this fragrance borrowed from this. It slightly reminds me of this, not even slightly. As soon as you spray this, the green vanilla is going to remind you of that greenness in this, that green vanilla. This is basically a green vanilla, with some rhubarb, that's sharpness of the rhubarb. That is what you're getting in this. And I get a similar nuance in this. It is not entirely 100%, but it gives me like, it could be a sort of a little flanker somehow, especially at the beginning. That green vanilla touch is very dominant, after that alcohol, like that boozy opening, the green vanilla comes in accompanied by the black currant and then the apple, basically without any other fruit. And then the dry down is where the greenness sort of, subsides, and then you're left with basically some black currant and then apple, which feels very candied and then gummyish. If there's a slight gummyish nuance to it, it is not your typical wine sort of, black currant. What black currant sometimes translates like wine, like, if that was what they were going for, that was not what they got. It doesn't give me wine-ish per se. It gives me something cocktail, cocktailish, but not like a wine sort of feel per se. It is fizzy. There's a very fizzy touch to this. It comes across as very fizzy. The black currant and then the apple that I get as the most dominant notes comes across as very fizzy. It feels like those sachet powdered black currant drinks that you need to mix with water, and then it's effervescent, sparkling, fizzy, a bit of a gummy, sort of feel, a bit of a candied feel. And it doesn't come across as a very realistic fruity one. It feels slightly synthetic, especially at the beginning. It feels the fruity nuances here feels very synthetic. They are not like fresh, realistic, edible fruit bowl, fruits. The fruit here feels candied, powdery, sort of, black currants sachet thing, that drink that you pour for kids, with that gummy bear or gummies, that gummy sort of feel, candied feel. That is what you're going to get, but nothing like a rich, syrupy, intense black currant, apple, strawberry. No, it doesn't give me that. It is not rich. It is not resonant. It is like more fizzy, more effervescent, more sparkling. After that whole Mugler green vanilla thing sort of dries down, but it's still very much present throughout the life of the fragrance. After the 1 hour mark, you're going to end up with something like a gummy bear, candied, black currant, and then apple, basically, which is very fizzy. And this also reminds me, if you are familiar with the other release from Paris Corner, Care Fusion, it's not the same. I much prefer Care Fusion to this. This is not going to be your simple one. This one feels more complex. Of the three from that line, including the mango punch and the pear potion, this is the most complex, one. The others are fairly easy to digest, but because of that green fizzy touch I get in this, it gives it like a bit of a complex vibes. It doesn't really give me anything like fun, like a real fun thing like this one, like the Care Fusion, which is like a fun, girly thing. This one is equally fun, but not as fun, but it sort of puts me in a similar mind frame of this at the dry down, not the opening. The opening is going to give you a green vanilla with that, a hint of a smoky nuance, like a hint of a smoky nuance too in this. But the dry down is where I begin to get nuances of this, or even something like Kale's, the Eden Juicy Apple, or Latafes Sublime, something, it will remind you of that, but not necessarily the same thing. It is quite complicated. It is not simple. The first 24 hours to 36 hours is the most difficult to digest or to sort of decipher what you are smelling, because it is quite complex. It is not going to give you a readily available thing that you can associate with. It is not going to do that. It needs some, it is not like a common sort of, DNA. It is quite different, although it sort of gives you a fruity cocktail sort of feel at a dry down. The beginning is completely different. It's going to throw you off completely with the green vanilla nuance, with something that I feel is like smoky. It is quite complex, but the dry down feels much more wearable. It feels much more easy to digest on clothes. When I spray this on clothes, the dry down on clothes is more of a realistic blackcurrant apple scent, but on skin I get that green vanilla a lot more. That smoky green vanilla I get from Aura, I get it a lot more in that. And one fragrance, that this particular fragrance, this is not anything new. It is not new. If you have ever watched Nigerian TikTokers, last year and then early part of this year, I think I saw a lot of Nigerian TikTokers raving about one particular fragrance known as AMD Sugar, Suger. I've never seen any other person talking about that, but I think it was very popular in Nigeria. And this is going to give you a very similar, they smell so similar. Even the note structure for this and then Sugar are basically the same thing. So I don't know what that Sugar it's also took inspiration from, whether it is an original creation or it also took inspiration from somewhere. But this is going to give you Sugar, the same exact thing with the nose structure, the scent profile. Everything is going to give you the same thing. That candied sugary feel with the greenness at the, in the mix somewhere. That is what it's going to give you. So probably if Sugar is like an original creation, then Paris Corner took inspiration from that. But that is what this fragrance is going to give you. So just take Mugler's Aura. That is what you're going to get. It's going to remind you of that from the beginning if you're familiar with Aura. And then it drives down to that Sugar vibes, with the candied blackcurrant and the candied apple. It's not as syrupy. It is sweet, but not as sickeningly sweet as this one, for example. So it's like it borrowed from a lot of places. I see it being a little more complex, especially the first 30 minutes. After the 45 minutes, getting to the deepest dry down, that is when you get that fruit bowl, but not like a realistic natural fruits, smelling. It's a little synthetic. It doesn't smell like something I think a lot of people are going to be raving about. It gives me something, it doesn't give me basic, it doesn't give me basic, it gives me a more complex feel. It's quite difficult to describe this fragrance. It took me like an entire day yesterday to figure this thing out, because 1 minute you're smelling something, the next minute you're smelling something else. But overall, what I basically get, and that is what I personally get, is going to give you that Mugler Aura's feel or interpretation at the beginning, and then begins to dry down to a more simple black currant and then apple, dry down, but candied, sugary candied feel more than a syrupy, rich, intense, realistic one. Essentially, that is what I'm going to get. So if you're familiar with AMD's Sugar, essentially you are buying this in replacement of Sugar. That is what you are buying in replacement of AMD's Sugar. And I think that is going to be it it needs to macerate, you know. I think this is one of those fragrances that I'm very curious about how it's going to develop over time, because even the first 24 hours, 36 hours, it sort of changes, you know, but I still get that aura feel with a bit of a smoky nuance, and you know, the black currant and the apple coming through. Nothing like a sweet strawberry coconut. It doesn't give me tropical vibes. It doesn't give me necessarily vacation vibes. Probably like being at the bar, you know, maybe at the bar during vacation sort of vibes, sipping on something boozy, you know. That is what it gives me. It is a good one. I'm not too sure, but I don't think this is my favorite amongst the three yet. It can change, anything can change, but for now, I think it is one that you need to try to be able to understand how it really comes across and feels. I do really like this, but it's not my favorite yet. I think my favorite is going to be Pear Potion at this particular time. It's going to be the my favorite amongst the three. But this, I see it has the potential, you know, it has a potential of being something amazing, because I love Aura. Aura is one of my best green vanilla scents, you know, but this has that fruits, you know, incorporated somewhere. So it's giving off like a very mixed, you know, feel. It's like, are you a vanilla? Are you green? Or you are fruity, you know, or you are floral? Like, it should have picked a side somehow, but it failed to pick a side. So it's more complex than the normal fruity, girly, fun things, you know, that a lot of people are expecting. And that is going to be it for today, you know. And stay tuned for more details for Juicy Melange. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.